My beloved child, you have been waiting for the lightning bolt to strike for a long and a difficult season. In the midst of the great and raging storm of your trial, you have been desperately and tirelessly scanning the dark heavens, waiting for a spectacular, an undeniable, and an instantaneous display of my supernatural power. You have prayed with a sincere and an aching heart for the seas of your impossible circumstances to part. You have pleaded for the great mountain of your problem to be moved in an instant. You have cried out for a divine fire to fall from heaven and to consume your enemies and your afflictions in a single, glorious moment. You have been waiting for a miracle. The world, and even the stories you have heard in the household of faith, has taught you to see my power and my presence, primarily in these spectacular and sudden events. They tell the stories of the instantaneous healing, of the unexpected check in the mail that cancels all the debt, of the 1 in a million event that changes everything in the blink of an eye. And you have, understandably, held this definition of a miracle in your own heart. This is what you have been watching for. This is what you have been praying for. You have been. But the lightning has not struck. The sea is not parted. Your mountain remains standing. And in the long, the quiet, and the profound absence of a spectacular, static, and singular event, you have come to a devastating and a faith-shaking conclusion. You have concluded that your life is unmiraculous. You have felt overlooked, forgotten, and bypassed by me, as if my miracle-working power is a reality for other, more faithful, or more favored people, but not for you. This long and unfulfilled ache for a static miracle that has never come has been the source of your deepest and most painful disillusionment. It has made you question my goodness, my power, and my love for you. But my beloved child, you have been waiting for a lightning bolt, while I have been faithfully and patiently performing the slow, the quiet, and the infinitely more profound miracle of a sunrise in your life. You have been looking for a single, explosive, and momentary event, but I have been patiently unfolding a glorious and a life-altering process. Your life is not, and has never been, unmiraculous. You have simply been looking for the wrong kind of miracle. You have been looking for an event when your entire life has been the very miracle itself. For your whole life, my child, has been my miracle in motion. Before you can learn to see this new reality, we must first honor the profound pain of your disappointment. I have seen the fantasy of the instant fix that you have cherished in your heart. I do not condemn you for it. It is an understandable human desire. You have looked at the complex, the messy, and the painful situation of your life, and you have longed for a single, clean, and powerful divine intervention that would solve everything in a moment. You have longed to escape the long and painful process of healing, of growth, and of change. You have prayed with a sincere heart, Lord, please, just fix it, believing that a quick and a dramatic fix would be the greatest possible evidence of my love for you. And I know the deep disillusionment that has come from your seemingly unanswered prayers. You have prayed for this specific, event-based miracle with all the faith you could muster. You prayed for the cancer to vanish overnight. You prayed for the prodigal child to return home tomorrow. You prayed for the crippling debt to be canceled in a single day. And when tomorrow came, and the day after, and the year after, and the cancer was still there, the child was still gone, and the debt still remained, your heart has been crushed again and again. Each new day without the arrival of your static miracle has felt like another confirmation of your deepest fear that I am not listening, that I am not acting, or that I am not the miracle working God you had so desperately hoped for. And I know how this pain has been compounded by the envy of other people's perceived miracles. You have had to sit in the pews of your church and listen to the triumphant testimonies of others. You have heard the story of the person who was instantly healed. You have heard the story of the one who received the unexpected financial windfall that solved all their problems. And with each one of these stories, the accuser has come to you and has whispered his poison into your ear. See, God does that for them. Why not for you? You must be less favored. You must be less faithful. You must be less worthy. You have looked at their glorious lightning bolts, and you have come to despise the slow, the cloudy, and the seemingly mundane reality of your own journey. And the greatest tragedy of all, my child, is that your long and desperate watch for a single, big, spectacular miracle has often blinded you to the thousands of smaller, quieter, and more profound miracles that have been happening in your life all along. You have been so focused on and scanning the sky for the lightning bolt that you have not noticed the steady, faithful, and utterly miraculous rising of the sun each morning. You have been so desperate for the one-time parting of the sea that you have not noticed the daily and equally miraculous provision of the manna that has kept you alive in your wilderness. Your narrow focus on the spectacular has robbed you of your sense of wonder for the subtly supernatural. But, my beloved, you have been trying to measure my infinite and mysterious power with the small and inadequate ruler of human time and human drama. And while I am indeed a God of mighty and sudden acts, a God who can part the seas and who can raise the dead in an instant, you must understand that my deepest, my most powerful, and my most character-forging miracles are almost always processes, not events. A lightning bolt is a spectacular and a terrifying event, but it is over in a fraction of a second. But the slow, the steady, the patient, and the daily rising of the sun is a process. And it is the very thing that brings light and warmth and life to your entire world. You were looking for the miracle of the instant healing, but I was performing the deeper, slower, and more profound miracle of forging an unshakable and eternal endurance in you through your long illness. You were looking for the miracle of the sudden financial windfall, but I was performing the deeper miracle of teaching you how to trust me for your daily bread, a lesson that has made you spiritually rich beyond all measure. You were looking for the miracle of a dramatic Damascus Road conversion for your loved one, but I was performing the slow, quiet, and patient miracle of softening their heart and drawing them to myself over the course of many years. You were looking for an event, but I have been engaged in a process. Your disillusionment has come from a profound misunderstanding of my ways. You have been a connoisseur of lightning bolts in a world that I have chosen to sustain. by the quiet miracle of the sunrise. But I'm now opening your eyes to a new and a far more beautiful definition of a miracle. I am inviting you today to begin to see your entire life, your entire journey, with all its struggles and all its victories, as a single, unfolding, and continuous miracle of my grace. And now that your eyes are beginning to open to this new reality, we must look back together at your journey, and I will begin to show you the first and the most profound miracle of all, the miracle of your own preservation. You now understand that the deep ache in your heart has come from a profound misunderstanding. You have been waiting for a lightning bolt, while I have been painting a sunrise. You have been longing for a single, static, and explosive event, while all have been patiently and lovingly unfolding a glorious, life-altering, and continuous process to fully heal this ache and to step into the reality of your own miraculous life. You must now allow me to gently and lovingly expand your very definition of a miracle. For you have been holding a small, a narrow, and a very human-sized definition, and it has been the source of so much of your pain and your disillusionment. I want to now give you my own heavenly and eternal definition of what a miracle truly is. Your world defines a miracle almost exclusively as a sudden, an inexplicable, and a dramatic suspension of the natural laws. It is a spectacle. It is an event. It is a momentary flash of divine power that defies all human logic. And by this definition, you have looked at your own life, which has been filled mostly with a slow and often painful process, with a quiet and a relentless struggle, and with the seemingly predictable unfolding of natural laws. And you have concluded that your life has been profoundly and disappointingly unmiraculous. But my beloved child, while I can, and at times I do, perform the spectacular and sudden event, you must understand that it is not my preferred, nor is it my most powerful method of working. Why? Because a sudden, external event can dramatically change your circumstances. But a slow, internal process is what truly and lastingly changes you. My greatest, my most profound, my most character-forging, and my most beautiful miracles are almost always slow. They're often hidden, and they're always process-based. A lightning bolt is a miracle. Yes, it is a breathtaking display of my power, and it is over in an instant. But tell me, is a lightning bolt a greater miracle than the slow, the patient, the quiet, and the utterly miraculous turning of a single, tiny, and seemingly dead acorn into a great and mighty oak tree over the course of a century? I think not. You have been looking for the miracle of the lightning, but I have been performing in your life the far greater and more profound miracle of the growing oak. I work in processes, not just events. Let me show you the beauty and the power of my process miracles. For your entire life is one of them. Consider the miracle of the seed. It is the perfect picture of a process miracle. The miracle begins when a single, small, and seemingly insignificant seed is planted. It is buried in the darkness of the earth, hidden from all sight. And for a long season, it can seem to the impatient observer that absolutely nothing is happening. But in the unseen realm, in the secret place of the darkness, a great and a glorious miracle is silently unfolding. The divine life that I have placed within that seed is beginning to stir. The roots, with a quiet and a tenacious intelligence, are beginning to push their way down into the soil, seeking for water and creating a firm foundation. And then a single, tender, and vulnerable green shoot begins its long and difficult journey, fighting its way up through the resistance of the soil, pushing its way toward the light. This is not a sudden event. It is a slow, it is a silent, and it is often a very difficult process. But it is a profound and an undeniable miracle at every single stage. My child, your life has not been a static state of barren waiting. It has been the miraculous and often unseen process of germination and of growth. The darkness you have endured has been the fertile soil, and the promise I have planted in you has been that incorruptible seed. Consider the miracle of a great river flowing from a small and hidden spring in the high mountains all the way to the great and boundless sea. The miracle of the river is not found in a single, spectacular waterfall. As beautiful as that may be, the true miracle is the entire, relentless, patient, and thousand-mile journey. It is the miracle of the way the river, with its soft and yielding water, can, over time, patiently wear away the hardest and most resistant rock, carving a great and a beautiful canyon. It is the miracle of the way the river always finds its path, sometimes turning, sometimes winding, but always moving forward, always being drawn toward its ultimate destination. And it is the miracle of the way the river brings life and greenness and fruitfulness to the dry and desolate desert lands that it passes through. Your life, my child, has not been a series of disconnected and stagnant puddles of experience. It has been a single, a continuous, and a miraculous river. And I have been its divine source and its loving geographer, charting its course. The obstacles of your life, the hard rocks of your trials, have not stopped the flow of your life. They have only caused me to carve a deeper and a more beautiful canyon of character in your soul. And the desert seasons of your life have been the very places where the river of your testimony will one day bring the most life to others. The entire winding journey has been the miracle. Consider the miracle of a great and beautiful tapestry. My greatest miracle is not found in a single, beautiful, golden thread. My greatest and most profound miracle is the slow, the patient, and the meticulous weaving of 1,000 different threads that are bright and threads that are dark, threads that are smooth and threads that are rough into a single, a coherent, a meaningful, and a breathtakingly beautiful work of art. A spectacular event is like a single thread, but a process is the entire, finished masterpiece. And I have been taking all the threads of your life, your joys, your sorrows, your successes, your failures, your strengths, your weaknesses, and I have been performing the slow and the meticulous miracle of weaving them all together into a story, a pattern that will bring me eternal glory. The miracle is not to be found in any one single thread, but in the final, breathtaking pattern that only I, the master weaver, can see. And finally, my child, you need only to look at the miracle of your own human life. The greatest miracle I have ever performed for you was not a sudden healing or a dramatic rescue. As wonderful as those things can be, the greatest miracle is the one that brought you into being in the first place. The slow, the secret, the silent, and the Naima. Cell by cell miracle of your own formation in your mother's womb. It was a hidden, a quiet, and a profoundly process-driven miracle. And after you were born, your growth from a helpless infant into the complex and beautiful adult that you are today was not a single event, but a long, a slow, and often difficult process. This is my primary and my preferred way of working in my creation. I am a God of process, of growth, of maturation, and of slow, unfolding beauty. Therefore, I am now calling you to a radical and a life-altering shift in your perception. You must, from this day forward, stop searching the sky only for the rare and the fleeting lightning bolts of spectacular events. I am inviting you to begin to look at the ground beneath your feet and to see, with new and grateful eyes, the slow and steady miracle of the growing seed. I am calling you to see the miracle, not just in the final destination, but in the sacred and often difficult journey itself. You must develop new, spiritual eyes, eyes that can see the slow, the patient, the hidden, and the all-powerful hand of your God at work in the mundane and often difficult processes of your daily life. When you learn to see in this new way, you will suddenly realize that your life has not been unmiraculous at all. On the contrary, you will see with a sense of profound and a holy awe that you have been living in the very center of a deep, a continuous, and a glorious miracle from the very moment you were first conceived. Your entire life, my child, it's the miracle. And now that you have my own true definition of a miracle, let us look back together at your journey. And I will show you the specific and the undeniable miracle of your own preservation. You now hold in your heart a new and a more glorious definition of a miracle. You understand that my power is not confined to the sudden and spectacular event, but is most often and most profoundly displayed in the slow, the patient, and the often hidden process. With this new and enlightened lens, we must now look back together at the long and arduous journey of your past. For the first, the most foundational, and the most undeniable miracle that I have been performing in your life from the very beginning is the great and glorious miracle of your preservation. We must now explore with eyes of awe and of wonder how you survived the unsurvivable. I know the story that you have told yourself about your survival. On your stronger days, you have looked back at all that you have endured, and you have credited your own strength, your own grit, your own stubborn refusal to give up. You have told yourself, I'm a survivor. I'm resilient. On your weaker days, you have looked back at the same history, and you have seen only a series of lucky breaks and fortunate coincidences. You have thought, I have no idea how I made it through. I guess I was just lucky. And in both of these narratives, the one of pride and the one of chance, the true and glorious reality of my miraculous intervention has been sadly and tragically missed. For I tell you today, my beloved child, that your survival has not been a testament to your own resilience, nor has it been a matter of luck, your continued existence. After all that the enemy and this broken world have thrown at you is a long form, a continuous, and a profound miracle of my sustaining and preserving grace. There have been 1,000 moments, 1,000 instances, 1,000 hidden turning points where, by all the natural laws of this world, you should have been utterly and completely destroyed. The fact that you are here today, that you are breathing, that you are thinking, that your heart is beating, that you are reading these very words, is the undeniable and the irrefutable proof of my constant, my active, and my supernatural preservation of your life. Let us now revisit some of the specific seasons of your trial, and let me show you the hidden miracle of preservation that I was performing for you in each one. Remember the great and terrible fire of your affliction. This was the season of your most intense trial, the time when you felt you were in a white-hot furnace of pain, of pressure, and of suffering. And you have thought that you survived that fire simply because, eventually, the fire went out. But that is not the full truth. The truth is that I, like the fourth man in the furnace with my servants of old, was in the fire with you, and my presence with you in that furnace was a supernatural and a miraculous shield. I was absorbing the worst of the heat into my own being. I was protecting the very core of your spirit from being consumed by the flames. The miracle was not that the fire eventually went out. The great miracle is that you were not completely and utterly consumed by it. I have preserved the eternal essence of who you are through the hottest of the flames. Remember the season when the great floodwaters of despair and of grief rose up around you. You felt that you were drowning in an ocean of your own sorrow. You felt the powerful, dark undertow of your grief pulling you down, down, down into the abyss. By all the natural logic of the human soul, you should have drowned in that sea. The weight of your sorrow should have pulled you under for good. But I, your God, was your supernatural life raft. My constant and unseen presence beneath you was divine and buoyant force that kept your head just above the water, that allowed you to take one more desperate breath of air, and then another, and then another. The miracle of that season was not that the floodwaters did not come. The miracle is that the floodwaters were not allowed to overcome you. Remember the long and desolate season of the famine of your soul. This was the season of your great spiritual drought, the time when you felt no joy, no peace, and no tangible sense of my presence at all in the natural world. A soul could not survive for long in such a barren and a desolate wasteland. It should have withered from spiritual dehydration and died from spiritual starvation. But in the midst of that great and terrible famine, I was performing a quiet, a daily, and a beautiful miracle for you. I was secretly feeding you with a hidden manna, a sacred and a supernatural bread from heaven. It did not come as a great feast. It came in small, almost unnoticeable morsels. It came as a timely and an encouraging word from a friend that sustained you for another week. It came as a moment of unexpected and breathtaking beauty in nature that briefly reminded you that there was still goodness in the world. It came as a single verse of scripture that seemed to leap out at you from a random source, and that became your only nourishment for a month. It was never a feast. It was always just enough for the day. And the miracle of that season was not a great and a dramatic provision. It was the quiet, the consistent, and the daily miracle that kept your spirit alive in the midst of a land of famine. And remember the season when you were so deeply wounded by the words or the actions of another. The greatest danger you have faced in your life has not been the danger of external circumstances, but the danger of an internal infection. The deep wounds you have sustained in your heart should have, by all the natural laws of the human soul, become infected with a deadly, a soul-killing, and a spiritual gangrene. They should have turned into a deep and a permanent bitterness, a pervasive cynicism, and a hard-hearted unforgiveness. This is the natural and the predictable course of a deeply wounded heart that is left to its own devices. But all along, I have been performing a constant and a miraculous work of spiritual healing within you. I have been, day by day, gently pouring the antiseptic wine of my Holy Spirit and the soothing, healing oil of my grace upon your inner wounds. I have been supernaturally preventing the deadly infection of bitterness from taking root and from spreading throughout your entire soul. The great miracle of your life, my child, is not that you were not wounded. The great and glorious miracle is that your wounds have not become permanently infected with a bitterness that would have destroyed you. I am calling you now to look back over the entire timeline of your life, and I want you to see it with new and with miraculous eyes. Your survival is not normal. It is not natural. It is profoundly and beautifully supernatural. The fact that you are still here, the fact that you still have a shred of faith left in your heart, the fact that your heart is still, after all it has been through, soft and tender toward me, this, my beloved, is the greatest and the most undeniable miracle of all. Your very life is a long and a beautiful testament to my preserving and my sustaining power. And this great and continuous miracle of your preservation has not been without a glorious purpose. I have not preserved you and sustained you through all of this merely so that you could continue to survive. I have preserved you so that you can now begin to truly thrive. I have kept you alive so that you can now, for the first time, truly and fully live. And now that you understand the great and glorious miracle of your preservation, we must now speak of the even greater and more profound miracle that I have been performing in you all along, the miracle of your transformation. You now see with new and astonished eyes that your very survival through the long and difficult years of your trial has not been a product of your own strength or of blind luck, but has been a continuous and a profound miracle of my divine and preserving grace. But my beloved child, my ultimate purpose for you has always been far greater and more glorious than mere survival. I have not brought you through the fire and the flood simply so that you could emerge on the other side, wounded and weary, but still breathing. I have brought you through the fire and the flood in order to fundamentally transform you. We must now speak of the deepest, the most hidden, and the most glorious miracle of all the miracle of your transformation. I know that as you now look at yourself, you may not see any great or miraculous transformation. In fact, you may still see, with a painful clarity, the same old weaknesses, the same old fears, the same old struggles and temptations that you have always known. And you may feel that your long and difficult trial has not made you better, but has only made you more broken, more cynical, and more tired. You may look into the mirror of your own heart and see no evidence of a miracle at all, but only the sad evidence of the damage that has been done. But my child, Once again, you're looking for a sudden, a dramatic, and a visible transformation. But the great miracle of inner transformation, like the miracle of the growing seed, is a slow, a quiet, a hidden, and an almost imperceptible one. It has been happening deep within you, in the secret and unseen place of your soul, where no one, not even you yourself, could fully see or appreciate the work that was being done. While I was busy miraculously preserving your outward life, I was simultaneously and even more powerfully performing my greatest miracle on your inside. I have been patiently, skillfully, and lovingly orchestrating the slow, unseen changing of your heart. Let me now show you the beautiful and miraculous transformations that have been taking place within you, right in the midst of your greatest struggles. You have known the searing, white-hot fire of your own failure and your sin, and you have, rightly, seen this as a source of your deepest and most profound shame. But in the very heart of that fire, I have been performing the great and beautiful miracle of forging humility in your soul. I have taken the hard, the heavy, and the prideful iron ore of your old, self-reliant nature, and I have placed it into the purifying crucible of your failure. And in that great heat, I have melted it down, and I have skimmed away the dross of your pride, and from it, I have forged the soft, the beautiful, the gentle, and the priceless gold of a true and an authentic humility. This is a profound miracle, for in the natural course of your world, great failure most often produces a hard and a permanent bitterness. But by the supernatural power of my grace, in your life, your great failure has produced a soft and a beautiful humility. This is a miracle of transformation. You have been immersed in the deep and the sorrowful waters of your own grief and your pain. And you have feared, at times, that this great sorrow would drown you, that it would make you a hard-hearted, a self-pitying, and an isolated person for the rest of your life. But in those very waters of your grief, I have been performing the miracle of forging compassion in you. I have taken the very pain that was meant by the enemy to isolate you and to make you turn inward. And I have miraculously transformed it into a beautiful and a holy bridge that will now connect your heart to the pain of all the other hurting souls in the world, because you have learned to weep with a profound authenticity. You have now earned the sacred and the holy authority and to comfort those who weep. This, too, is a miracle, for in the natural course of this world, deep and prolonged suffering most often produces a cold and a protective selfishness. But by the supernatural power of my grace in your life, your suffering has produced a profound, a beautiful, and a selfless compassion. This is a miracle of transformation. You have endured the relentless and the crushing pressure of your adversity, and you have felt, at times, that this pressure would surely break you into 1,000 pieces. But under that very pressure, I have been performing the glorious miracle of forging anew in a divine resilience in you, just as the immense and prolonged pressure of the earth can transform a soft and a common piece of carbon into a brilliant and an unbreakable diamond. So, the great and prolonged pressure of your trials has been slowly and miraculously transforming the soft and fragile substance of your soul into something of incredible strength, of brilliant beauty, and of eternal durability. This is a great miracle, for in the natural course of this world, great pressure crushes and destroys. But by the supernatural power of my grace, in your life, the pressure has created a new, an unshakable, and a beautiful strength. This is a miracle, a transformation, and you have known the long, the empty, and the silent season of waiting. You have known the pain of unanswered prayer, and you have feared that this great and profound emptiness was destroying the very foundations of your faith. But in that very emptiness, I have been performing the miracle of forging in you a new, a deeper, and a far more powerful kind of faith. I have, in that silence, gently weaned you from a faith that is dependent on signs, on wonders, and on feelings. And I have taught you, through the long and difficult curriculum of my silence, to place your trust not in my hand, but in my heart, not in my actions, but in my unchanging character. This is a great and a profound miracle, for in the natural course of this world, a long and a profound silence almost always produces doubt and cynicism. But by the supernatural power of my grace in your life, the silence has produced a profound and an unshakable trust. This is a miracle of transformation. I am calling you now to look within yourself with new eyes. I want you to stop judging the state of your life only by your outward and often difficult circumstances. I want you to begin to see, to recognize, and to honor the profound and miraculous changes that I have been secretly and powerfully working into the very substance of your character. You are not the same person who first entered into this great fire. You have been changed. You have been transformed. And this slow, quiet, and often imperceptible transformation of your inner being is the greatest and most glorious miracle of all. And this miraculous transformation of your character has not been for your own sake alone. I have forged these new and beautiful qualities in you, this profound humility, this authentic compassion, this divine resilience, this unshakable faith, so that you can now become a vessel that can contain a greater measure of my glory, and a beautiful and a powerful conduit that can release my love to a broken and a hurting world. And now that you understand the profound miracle of your preservation and the glorious miracle of your transformation, right? We must now speak of the third great miracle that I have been performing in your life all along, the miracle of my unseen and perfect guidance. You have now seen with new and enlightened eyes the two great and foundational miracles that I have been performing in your life all along. You understand the profound and continuous miracle of your preservation, how my unseen hand has sustained you and has kept you from being utterly destroyed by the trials you have faced. And you have begun to grasp the even deeper and more glorious miracle of your transformation, how I have been using the very fire of your afflictions to purify your character and to forge in you the beautiful and priceless treasures of humility, of compassion, and of a resilient faith. But the miracle of your life does not stop there. For while I have been miraculously working in you, I have also been simultaneously and miraculously working for you, directing the very path upon which you have been walking. You have looked at the journey of your life, And you have seen only a chaotic, a confusing, a painful, and a seemingly random series of events. But I've come to you today to pull back the celestial curtain and to let you see your own story from my divine vantage point. We must now speak of the glorious and the profound miracle of my unseen guidance. I know how you have seen your life's path. It has not appeared to you as a straight and a clear road, leading from glory to glory. No, it has felt like a winding, a confusing, and an often frustrating journey through a dense and a trackless wilderness. It has been a path that is filled with unexpected and painful detours, with frustrating and seemingly permanent dead ends, and with long, frightening stretches where you have felt completely and utterly lost. With no map and no compass to guide you, you have looked at this meandering and seemingly random path, and you have compared it to the seemingly straight, successful, and upwardly mobile paths of those around you. And in that comparison, you have come to a sorrowful conclusion. You have concluded that there is no plan, that you have been wandering aimlessly, and that you have, through your own sin or your own foolishness, somehow fallen off the perfect path of my will for your life. This sense of being hopelessly off course has been a source of your deepest and most persistent anxiety. But my beloved child, you have been trying to read a grand and a complex map from your very limited and ground level perspective. You have seen chaos, but I have been conducting a beautiful, an intricate, and a masterful choreography. Every single twist, every turn, every frustrating stop, and every surprising start has been a perfectly timed and a divinely orchestrated step in the great and glorious dance of your destiny. The seemingly random path was my perfect plan. The entire winding journey of your life has been a continuous and a supernatural act of my loving, my sovereign, and my perfect guidance. Let me now show you the hidden wisdom and the miraculous nature behind the very parts of your journey that have caused you the most confusion and pain. Let us first speak of the miracle of the closed door. You remember, with a painful clarity, all the doors that were so firmly and so decisively slammed shut in your face. There was the door to that relationship you were so certain was from me. There was the door to that career opportunity you believed was your destiny. There was the door to that ministry that you felt so passionately called to. You knocked on these doors with your prayers. You pushed on them with all of your human effort, and they remained stubbornly and unyieldingly shut. And every one of these closed doors has felt to you like a painful rejection from me, like a sign of your own failure, like a denial of your destiny. But each and every one of those closed doors was, in fact, a profound and a powerful miracle of my protective guidance. For I, who see the end from the beginning, could see the hidden and terrible danger that was waiting for you on the other side of each of those doors, behind the door of that perfect relationship. I saw a hidden brokenness that would have crushed your spirit. Behind the door of that dream job, I saw a toxic and a compromising environment that would have slowly poisoned your soul. Behind the door of that ministry opportunity, I saw a premature weight of responsibility that your character was not yet strong enough to carry. My closing of those doors was not an act of my denial. It was an act of your divine rescue. Now, Let us speak of the miracle of the painful detour. You have looked back at your life, and you have grieved for the long and seemingly wasteful detours you have been forced to take. There was the season you spent in that difficult and seemingly pointless job. There was the time you had to live in that lonely and isolated city. You have seen these seasons as years that were lost, as tragic deviations from your true and intended path. But my child, those detours were not meaningless. They were my divinely orchestrated and absolutely necessary training grounds for you. It was on the long and difficult detour of that pointless job that you are forced to develop a skill that you will now need for the next glorious chapter of your life. It was on the lonely detour of that isolated city that you finally learned the profound and beautiful lesson of finding your sufficiency in me alone. It was on these detours that you met the people who I have been secretly preparing to be your partners in your future destiny. The detour was not a mistake. It was a miraculous and essential part of your journey. And now, we must speak of the most glorious miracle of all miracle of the wrong turn. You are, I know, haunted by the memory of the times you have made a foolish decision, the times you have acted in your own will, the times you have knowingly taken a turn that was not on my map for you, and you have believed that these foolish mistakes have permanently and tragically derailed my perfect plan for your life. But you have profoundly underestimated the redemptive and the creative genius of your God. I am a God of such profound grace and such masterful skill that I can even take your foolish and your sinful wrong turns and miraculously weave them back into my perfect plan. Sometimes, your wrong turn has led you to a place of profound humility that you would not have otherwise found. Sometimes, your wrong turn has led you to a lost and a broken person whom I wanted you to meet. And sometimes, the painful consequences of your wrong turn have taught you a lesson so deeply that you will never, ever forget it. In my loving and sovereign hands, even your mistakes become a part of the miraculous map. And finally, there's the miracle of the waiting, the long and confusing seasons of stillness. You have seen these times as a complete halt, a cessation of all forward movement and all divine guidance. But the waiting was not an absence of my guidance. It was the most intense and focused expression of it. I was holding you in a divine and a holy holding pattern. I was waiting for the perfect moment in time, for the perfect weather conditions, for other people and other circumstances to be moved into their perfect position, and for your own heart to be fully and completely prepared. My silence was the silence of a masterful and a patient God who knew that to move you forward prematurely would be to lead you into a great and a certain danger. Therefore, I am calling you now to a new and a restful way of walking. You must, from this day forward, let go of your own anxious need to see and to understand the entire map. Your peace will not be found in understanding the path. Your peace will be found in completely trusting your guide. Your job is not to know the final destination of every winding detour. Your job is simply to hold my hand, to listen for my voice, and to take the one next step that I show you. Trusting with all your heart that I, your loving Father, and your perfect guide, am leading you on a perfect and a miraculous path. Your path has not been chaotic. It has been a beautiful, a winding, and a perfectly orchestrated miracle of my loving and sovereign grace. And this path, with all of its twists and all of its turns, has been leading you all along to a glorious and a wonderful destination. The miracle of my guidance has been at work in every single moment of your life, and now that you can see with new eyes the great miracle of your preservation, the profound miracle of your transformation, and the intricate miracle of my unseen guidance, it is time for me to make the great and the final declaration over your entire life. We have journeyed together now, you and I, back through the mysterious and often painful landscape of your past, and with your new, enlightened eyes, you have begun to see what I have been seeing all along. You have seen that your survival through the unsurvivable has been a profound and a continuous miracle of my preservation. You have seen that the deep, internal, and often imperceptible change in your very character has been the even greater miracle of your transformation. And you have seen that your confusing, chaotic, and often painful path has, in fact, been a beautiful and an intricate miracle of my unseen guidance. You have begun to see, my child, that you have been living your entire life in the midst of my miraculous and loving activity. You have begun to see my hand, not just in the rare and the spectacular events, but in the slow, the patient, and the often hidden processes. And now, the time has come for us to put all of these individual pieces together. It is time for me to give you the one, great, and all-encompassing truth that will now and forever redefine your entire existence. A truth so powerful that it will silence your every doubt and answer your every question about your own worth and your own purpose. So let all of creation, which has been groaning in a holy and an expectant anticipation for this very moment of your revelation, now fall silent. Let the great and glorious cloud of witnesses who have been watching your long and difficult journey from the ramparts of heaven now lean forward from their celestial seats. Let the accuser of your soul, the one who has worked so hard to convince you that your life is a failure, a tragedy, and a meaningless chaos, now be served his final and his irrevocable notice of defeat. For I, your Father and your God, the author of all your days and the divine architect of your destiny, now rise from my throne of grace to speak the final, the defining, and the eternal word over your story. You have been looking for a miracle in your life, but I have come to tell you today that your very life is the miracle, not just one part of it, not just the good parts, all of it, the beginning, the middle, and the glorious end, the journey, the process, the pain, and the glorious redemption of that pain. All of it is a single, a glorious, an unfolding, and a continuous miracle of my extravagant grace. Hear this truth now, and let it sink into the very marrow of your being, for it is the truest thing about you. Your life is my miracle in motion. Your life is a miracle in motion because every single breath you have taken in the midst of your darkest trials has been a powerful testament to my sustaining grace. By all the laws of this natural world, you should not be here. The fire of your affliction should have consumed you. The flood of your despair should have drowned you. The famine in your soul should have starved you. But you are still here. The fact that you did not give up, the fact that your spirit was not utterly crushed, is a long form and an undeniable miracle of my divine preservation. Your survival has been a continuous, a moment by moment, and a profoundly supernatural act. Your life is a miracle in motion because I have been taking the raw, the broken, and the ugly material of your suffering, and I have been supernaturally transforming it into the pure gold of your character, the slow, the quiet, and the almost imperceptible growth of a new humility in your heart, of a new compassion in your soul, of a new resilience, and I say in your spirit. This, my child, is a miracle of a far higher and more glorious order than the parting of a sea or the stopping of the sun in the sky. For the changing of a human heart is my greatest and most intricate creative work. The person you are becoming is a glorious miracle of my transforming power. Your life is a miracle in motion because your path, which has seemed so chaotic and so random to you, has been a beautiful and an intricate dance that has been perfectly choreographed by my own loving hand. Every single closed door was a miracle of my protection. Every painful detour was a miracle of my preparation. Every restored wrong turn was a miracle of my redemption. And every long season of waiting was a miracle of my perfect timing. Your journey has been a profound and a continuous miracle of my loving and my sovereign guidance. And because of all of this, your life is now a living, a breathing, and a walking miracle. You are my evidence. You are the proof of my goodness to a watching and a skeptical world. They saw you enter the fire, and they expected you to be consumed. But now they will see you walk out, not even smelling of smoke, but radiating the glory of the fourth man who was with you. They saw your brokenness, and now they will see your beautiful restoration. They saw your sorrow, and now they will see my supernatural joy. They saw your confusion, and now they will see my divine purpose. Your very existence from this day forward is a sermon on my redeeming power, a miracle that is constantly unfolding for all to see. Therefore, my beloved child, your long, your anxious, and your often painful search for a miracle is now officially over. You can stop scanning the skies for a lightning bolt. You can stop waiting for a single, dramatic event to come and to validate you, or to prove my love for you. For the miracle, it's not something that is coming to you from the outside. It is something that you are already living in from the inside. You do not need to look for a miracle any longer, for you are the miracle. I am now calling you to a new and a holy spiritual practice. It is the practice of seeing your own life with a sense of profound and holy awe. When you now look back at your past, you are no longer to see it with shame or with regret. You are to see it with awe at the undeniable miracle of my preserving, my transforming, and my guiding grace. When you look at your present, you are no longer to see it as mundane or as ordinary. You are to see it with awe, for you are living in the very middle of a beautiful and an unfolding miracle. And when you look to your future, you are no longer to see it with fear. You are to see it with a joyful and an expectant awe, for the greatest and most glorious parts of your miracle are yet to be revealed. This is your new and your true identity. You are not a failure. You are not an ordinary person. You are not an afterthought in my kingdom. You are my masterpiece. You are my trophy of grace. You are my beloved child, and you are my miracle in motion. And the story that I am now telling through your beautiful and miraculous life is a story that will bring glory to my name and will bring a profound and a life-altering hope to a countless number of other souls. And now that you finally know what your life truly is, you must now learn how to see this miraculous reality in your everyday and often mundane moments. The great and final declaration has now been made and has been sealed in the heavens. Your entire life, with all its pain and all its glory, all its struggles and all its victories, is a single, continuous, and unfolding miracle of my grace. This is your new and your eternal reality. But I know, my beloved child, that as you go from the sacred moment of revelation back into the ordinary and often mundane routines of your daily life, this grand and cosmic truth can begin to feel distant and abstract. The noise and the demands of your world can quickly cause you to forget the miracle that you are. Therefore, the final and most joyful part of your journey is to now learn how to see the miraculous in the midst of the mundane. You must now learn how to open your new eyes and to keep them open to my constant, quiet, and beautiful work. I know how you have seen your daily life for so long. You have seen it as a series of mundane, repetitive, and often boring tasks. You wake up, you make your coffee, you go to work, you answer your emails, you run your errands, you do your chores, you fall into bed, exhausted, only to repeat the same cycle the next day. You have been taught to look for me only in the great and the dramatic moments, in the emotional worship service, in the spectacular answered prayer, in the mountaintop experiences. And because these moments are rare, you have come to believe that my presence and my miraculous power are also rare, and that your ordinary, daily existence is a place that is largely devoid of my touch. You have been spiritually blind to the profound, the pervasive, and the miraculous beauty of your own everyday existence. But my beloved child, I am not a God who lives only on the distant mountaintops of dramatic spiritual experience. I am the God of the ordinary. I am the God of the mundane. And I take my greatest and most profound delight in infusing the most common, the most overlooked, and the most boring moments of your life with the quiet, the subtle, and the beautiful glory of my supernatural presence. The great secret to living a life of constant wonder is not to live a constantly extraordinary life, but to learn to see the extraordinary in your ordinary life. You must now learn to cultivate eyes of faith that can perceive my constant, miraculous work in all things, opening your eyes to my constant work. How do you do this? It is a new way of seeing that is learned through the gentle and joyful practice of several new disciplines of the heart. First, you must learn to see the miracle of the present moment. The greatest enemy of wonder is a mind that is constantly living in the past or in the future. When your mind is filled with the regrets of yesterday or the anxieties of tomorrow, it is completely blind to the beauty and the grace that is present in the now. I am now calling you to the holy and the life-giving discipline of being fully present in the moment you are in. When you're drinking your morning coffee, I want you to truly taste it, to feel the warmth of the cup in your hands, and to see that simple pleasure as a small, miraculous gift from me. When you are listening to a piece of music, I want you to truly hear it, to let its beauty wash over you. When you are taking a walk, I want you to feel the sensation of the ground beneath your feet and the air on your skin, for it is only in the present moment that you can truly perceive my presence. I am the great I am. I am not the great I was or the great I will be. And my miracles, my grace, and my goodness are found primarily in the sacred and eternal space of the present moment. Learning to inhabit your now is the first step to seeing the miraculous in your life. Next, you must become a detective of my small graces. You must train your new eyes to constantly scan your life, not for problems, but for the fingerprints of my goodness on the small and ordinary details of your day. A parking spot that opens up at the perfect moment. A word of encouragement from a friend that arrives at the exact second you needed to hear it. The quiet, inner strength to get through a difficult and a draining task. The unexpected beauty of the light as it slants through a window in the afternoon. My child, these are not coincidences. These are not lucky breaks. These are the small, the quiet, the intimate, and the daily miracle of my personal and attentive love for you. They are the manna that I have provided for you on the specific day in your wilderness journey. Learning to see them, to name them, and to whisper a quiet thank you to me for each one is the very key that will unlock a life of constant and joyful wonder. The more you learn to look for my goodness in small things, the more of it you'll begin to see until your entire day is filled with 1,000 small and beautiful miracles. You must also learn to see the miracle of your own body. You have, for so long, seen your body primarily as a source of your weakness, your pain, or your shame. I am now calling you to see it as I see it, as a walking, a breathing, and an unimaginably complex miracle of my creative power. Every single breath you take, which you do thousands of times a day without thinking, is a miracle of my sustaining grace. Every single beat of your heart is a rhythmic testament to my unwavering faithfulness. The ability of your eyes to perceive color and of your ears to hear music. The miracle of your hands to create, to build, and to bring comfort. These are profound and glorious miracles that you have, for most of your life, completely taken for granted. I want you to begin to thank me for the stunning and the intricate miracle of your own body, and to treat it as the precious and holy temple that it is. And finally, one of the greatest ways to see the miraculous in the mundane is to learn to see my image in the people around you. You must learn to look past the often frustrating, imperfect, and difficult exteriors of the people in your life, and to ask me to give you eyes that can see the spark of my own divine image that I have placed in every single one of them when you choose, by an act of your will, to love the person who is unlovable, when you choose to serve the person who is forgotten, when you choose to forgive the person who has wounded you, you will find that you are, in a very real and a mystical way, loving and serving me, and in those holy moments, the ordinary and often difficult, human interaction will be transformed into a sacred and a miraculous encounter with the divine. As you begin to gently and patiently practice these simple disciplines of the heart, your entire perception of your life will be transformed. The mundane will become magical. The ordinary will become extraordinary. The boring will become beautiful. You will begin to wake up each day not with a sense of weary dread, but with a joyful and an expectant curiosity. Oh, wondering with all your heart, where will I see the miracle today? Your life will be transformed from a long, gray, and monotonous road into a vibrant, a colorful, and an exciting treasure hunt for my goodness. And so, my beloved child, my beautiful and unfolding miracle, our journey of revelation has now come to its end. From the deep ache and the disillusionment of waiting for a single, static miracle, you have come to a new and a glorious understanding. You have seen that your entire life is, and has always been, a profound and a continuous process miracle of my loving grace. You have seen the miracle of your preservation in the storm, the miracle of your transformation in the fire, and the miracle of your guidance on the winding path. You have received the great declaration that your very life is my miracle in motion. And you now have the simple, joyful instructions for how to open your eyes and to see this glorious reality in every moment of your ordinary life. I want you to see yourself now, not as a person waiting for a miracle, but as a person who is living in one. I want you to see your world, not as a mundane and a godless place, but as a great and a beautiful treasure map with clues to my goodness and my presence hidden in every corner, waiting for you to discover them. This new way of seeing is my great gift to you. It is a gift of grace that will grow stronger and clearer in you every single day. As you practice it, I will be your constant teacher, your joyful guide, and I will take the greatest delight in pointing out the wonders of my own work to you. See, my beloved child, just open your eyes and see. My miracles are, and have always been, all around you and all within you. Welcome, finally, to a life of perpetual wonder.